South China Morning Post, 12th of July 2023, Why was ironclad slave created? Cambodia may be the ideal ally and enslaved person of China. Cambodia has been fully subjugated by China, which has a master-slave relationship. Beijing's buddies aren't doing well if it pauses and looks around. Its no-limits counterpart in Moscow has just managed to hold off a mercenary uprising that nearly saw a column of a few thousand irregulars and ex-offenders enter the city. And the unrest that followed Mahsa Amini's death in morality police detention last year is still felt in Iran. The anti-hegemonic alliance between China, Russia, Pakistan, and Iran, which historian Niall Ferguson now refers to as the axis of ill will and which former U.S. National Security Advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski predicted in 1997, appears to be crumbling. Closer to home, Laos owes China so much money that Beijing will probably eventually have to write off billions of dollars. This won't be good for the export of its infrastructure-led development model. The junta in control of Myanmar wants Beijing to provide international protection as it continues the civil war. Still, it also wants to reduce its reliance on China by cooperating with Russia and India. Pakistan is in a perma-crisis, according to The Economist. Any progress China may have achieved in the Philippines and Thailand has come to naught. While a coalition likely to take office in Bangkok next month is anticipated to be more pro-US, Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has brought the nation back to its pro-Western agenda. As a result, Cambodia, an ironclad friend, stands out somewhat. It frequently presents as one of China's closest Asian allies that is least challenged and typically only has good news to share. One of the simpler tasks for a Chinese diplomat must be serving as the ambassador in Phnom Penh. Cambodia's national debt was only 33.7% of its GDP last year, which is not alarmingly high. Its primary export partners are Western countries, with whom it maintains extensive economic ties. As a result, Chinese businesses operating there can earn substantial profits. China reported a trade surplus with Cambodia of $2.2 billion in the first quarter of this year. Although its property market frequently resembles a bubble just waiting to explode, it has proven stable enough for Chinese investors looking to place retirement investments there. Even though the country's administration is becoming more autocratic, it is still in place. On July 23, the ruling Cambodian People's Party, CPP, is guaranteed to win every vote cast. Prime Minister Hun Sen will likely arrange a peaceful power handover to his eldest son. Washington, which takes this seriously, continues to increase its aid to and trade with Phnom Penh, showing that Cambodia can benefit from the West and China without fully siding with one side. The Cambodian government may or may not have secretly agreed to let the People's Liberation Army station troops at its Ream naval base. Or, to put it another way, wouldn't Beijing prefer a more Cambodian-like Laos and Myanmar? The China-Cambodia partnership was hailed by the Global Times as a model of regional cooperation at a time when the world is full of challenges in November. However, there is a small amount of contradiction. The partnership between China and Cambodia is, in many ways, more commercial than Beijing's connections with other nations. Contrary to Laos or Cuba, for example, the two nations do not share any common ideologies. Beijing and Phnom Penh are not compelled to get along to prevent conflict. Prime Minister of Cambodia since 1985, Hun Sen, once referred to China as the root of everything evil in his country. In 1979, his administration overthrew the Khmer Rouge dictatorship, which had received support from Beijing. However, it is hardly the only autocratic government to establish tighter ties with Beijing to counteract criticism and hostility from Western democracies. And Hun Sen seems satisfied with the Chinese alliance, especially after receiving a guarantee of further investment during his February visit to Beijing for a meeting with Xi Jinping. It appears that Xi authorized Hun Sen's plan to transfer power to his eldest son, Hun Mane, through dynastic succession, the go-ahead. But what happens when Cambodian investment from China starts to decline? Phnom Penh might turn around, show gratitude to Beijing for the facilities it has constructed, such as the $2 billion Phnom Penh-Sinakville motorway, and then turn its attention to re-engaging Western democracies by exporting its exports through the same ports and roads that China has supported. When compared to Laos, the Myanmar dictatorship, or even other Chinese allies like Iran and Russia, it is far simpler to envision Cambodia becoming more evenly aligned with the United States, Japan, and Europe, as it was in the 2000s and the early 2010s. Cambodia's trade in goods with the U.S. increased from $4.2 billion in 2018 to over $12.6 billion last year, despite Washington's disapproval of Phnom Penh's ironclad friendship with Beijing. Despite what some Americans in the U.S. capital might believe, Washington does not operate as though it has lost Cambodia to China. Beijing should be concerned about Cambodia's hedging with Vietnam, the longtime ally of the CPP in power. However, Hanoi has significantly increased investment in its western neighbor in recent years, and bilateral trade increased from $3.8 billion in 2017 to over $10.5 billion last year, compared to China-Cambodia trade, which was $14.5 billion last year. The relationship between Cambodia, China, and Vietnam is still poorly understood. Chinese-built office buildings and condominiums dominate the skylines of Phnom Penh. At the same time, Sinakville on the coast is politely referred to as the New Shenzhen or, less favorably, as a Chinese colony. Military ties are strong. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, it appeared that a group of Cambodian officials or organizations affiliated with the ruling party was departing for training every week in Beijing. However, China's sway over Cambodia is neither monopolistic nor long-lasting.